We are just about 6 weeks away from spring practice at UCLA, trying to erase the memories from a 2016 that finished with 4 wins and 2 in the Pac-12. We bring in Mike Regalado from Gojo Bruin to start our positional breakdowns for the Bruins, and we start right at the top with quarterback. Mike, how you doing today?
Good, Mark. How you doing? Thanks for having me back.
I'm doing great. You got me out of bed, but that's okay. That's a good thing. I needed that. You're up much earlier than I am, of course, on the West Coast, but I keep those late hours. So Josh Rosen, of course, the story right here. We know about the tremendous talent. We know that he broke out in game 1 and then carried it through a very successful freshman season, 23 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Unfortunately, got hurt in that 6th game last year, and that kind of derailed the whole season with some other injuries. So just your thoughts about Rosen coming into a junior season, and obviously the weight of the world on him, the expectations sky high.
You know, everybody expected a huge year last year in his sophomore season. You know, he had a fantastic freshman showcase, really took, the Pac-12 by storm, and, got a lot of national attention, and everyone was saying that he was going to be a Heisman contender, which it looked like he could have, although a couple things derailed that a little bit. One, getting knocked out in the 6th game of the season. Had shoulder surgery, didn't play for the last half of the season, but he had Mike Faithful come in, and there was just a lot of problems with the offense as well. The biggest one, well, 2 things: the offensive line not being able to help the run game, as well as receivers not being able to catch a ball. Still, with all of that, Josh Rosen still managed to average 230. I'm sorry. Where is this right here? He managed to throw for over 300 yards a game. Anyway, it was just amazing that he was just able to bounce back. And there was that remark about Joey Galloway said that he had an up and down season. Yeah, yes and no. His production was actually very good. The fact that he still threw for 1,900 yards in just 6 games was remarkable. And trying to get the ball out to receivers who were either dropping balls, he still managed to get yards somewhere. There was still a few receivers who were able to come up big in games, but they struggled with their offense a little bit, and that's gonna be the dynamic this year, to see how exactly they change schemes from Kennedy Palomalu's power-based offense, pro style, if that's what you want to call it. Don't tell Jim Moore that, because he'll probably bite your head off. To what Jedd Fisch is going to do this year, and in the offseason, Jim Moore pretty much tore the offense apart. Fired Kennedy Palomalu, brought in Jedd Fisch from Michigan. With that, they got a new running backs coach with Deshaun Foster. They got a new quarterbacks coach, with Jedd Fisch basically made himself quarterbacks coach, and Marquise Tuiasosopo basically moved on to Cal. Offensive line has a new coach from Clem to now Hank Fraley, I believe it is. And then Eric Yarber last week, he left for the Rams. So the offense is going to be completely different next year, and that's going to be interesting to see how Rosen adapts to that, because it's going to be his 3rd offensive coordinator in his 3 years at UCLA. So what exactly is Rosen going to do, and how productive is he going to be, is going to be the big question going into his junior year. And you know what? Even though he had successful surgery, we still haven't heard anything about him actually participating, or if he's going to be ready for at least spring practice, which starts in a few weeks. So right now, it's all the attention has come off Rosen. 1, because he didn't have that great a season, and 2, because he got injured, and 3, you have that guy across town, Sam Darnold, who is just basically taken over the top spot as the best quarterback in LA. So Rosen has a lot of work to do next season, and it's going to be interesting to see exactly how UCLA pulls that through, and what Rosen is going to be successful with. So
Yeah, some of the shine came off of Josh Rosen for a number of reasons, and you alluded to everything there. And just looking at the numbers and the game-by-game performance, they play a huge game out of conference to start the season at Texas A&M, a very difficult place to play. They take the game to overtime. He throws 3 interceptions, but he gets tagged with the loss, and the quarterback has to carry the win-loss record. I don't completely understand that. I get it to a certain extent, but there's 22 guys on the field at all times, but the quarterback takes the loss, and that happened obviously with Stanford, and that was a game that could have been won at the end. And again, they lost to Arizona State again. A game that he was extremely productive with 400 yards passing, but knocked out late, and they lose that game against Arizona State as well. So some losses mixed in there, and obviously the 3 interception game against Texas A&M. So past Josh Rosen, of course, a couple guys who are probably more talented than Faithful that we saw in the lineup last year after Rosen got hurt, but a couple guys that are very inexperienced, and Matt Lynch, who was the 30th rated pro-style quarterback according to 247 when he came out, and Devon Modster, the 13th rated pro-style quarterback when he came out a couple years ago, according to 247. So talented guys, but definitely unproven.
Yeah, definitely. The thing last year is like that a lot of Bruin fans were upset about was the fact that the UCLA coaches did not prepare, did not have a backup plan in case Josh Rosen went down. And look what happened. Josh Rosen went down halfway through the season, and you have these two, pretty good incoming freshmen, but you choose to go with Mike Faithful. I'm still forgetting how to pronounce his name.
I pronounce it different every time I say it too.
Mike Faithful, Mike F. Anyway, Faithful had, he's the most experienced. He has had playing time. He's played in a bowl, but it was, he knew exactly what Kennedy Palomalu wanted to run and what Josh Rosen was expected to do. The only problem is that he didn't exactly have. There was a reason he was a walk-on, and there was a reason that there wasn't a lot of success, especially at the end of the season. They just got torn apart by USC, and they just got bounced by Cal in the final game of the season, and they just could not run the ball. They couldn't pass the ball, and they were just making bad decisions, and it unfortunately it fell on Faithful. And it just the offense was just not prepared for Rosen to go down. This year, that should be fixed up because there's a lot of depth. There's Devon Modster, Matt Lynch. The UCLA has Austin Burton coming in, 3-star from the East Coast. They have another guy, Jules, who he committed to UCLA, but he was a 2-star rating. There's also Diamond Lee, who's might be a wide receiver, might be a quarterback. He played some quarterback in high school, but there should be absolutely no reason why why a backup quarterback should not be prepared this season, just in case anything does happen to Rosen again. If anything, they have 2 good quarterbacks in Modster and Lynch, and they already have a year under their belt. The good thing about them too is that both of them they have legs on them too. So if a play breaks down, they can definitely get into the open and try to do something by running the ball. Hopefully that brings a different dynamic. Like I said, with the offensive coordinator, we don't exactly know what they're going to do. Jed Fish said he wants to have a multi-look set. I guess it's going to be similar to what Kennedy Palomalu brought to the table, but I think it's going to be just a little bit more detailed to the players that they have. And with that, I think that Modster and Lynch should definitely they should be developed after 1 year, and they should be ready to go. If Rosen can't. And, like I said, we still haven't heard if Rosen is for sure going to play next year. Cross fingers, the surgery was successful. Hopefully he has plenty of time to rest and he's ready for spring practice. But if not, there's absolutely no reason why Modster and Lynch should not be prepared to lead UCLA if anything happens.
Yeah, Austin Burton, you mentioned him and allude to his credentials coming out of high school, 61st rated pro-style quarterback, according to 247, out of Florida, coming from the East Coast. The scoring output for this offense is just alarming, even with Rosen out of the lineup, and you got to take that into consideration. Really, they had 4 big scoring games, but they were all against bad defenses, except somehow the Utah game went to 52-45 when it was expected that was going to be like a 13-10 game. That just went crazy. But against all the decent defenses that they faced, just not much scoring. And even if Josh Rosen comes back, we always talk about a quarterback's best friend and always needing offensive line support, but we think about that in terms of pass blocking. But for this team, it also includes establishing a running game, because he can't just be expected to throw the ball 50 times and for them to win games just passing the ball. So the running game has to come back for this team to be successful, and you know that better than anyone. We'll get to the running back situation and the offensive line at a later date. Mike, we appreciate the time talking UCLA quarterbacks, and we'll run down all the positions with Mike in future segments. So, Mike, we appreciate it.
Thanks, Mark.